A very good morning, everyone. Good morning. Now, the wonderful thing about being in person is that we have this dynamics. It's not we're not all muted on Zoom, wondering if we should talk or not. So let's really take advantage of finally meeting in person after a crazy 2 years. A warm welcome to Malmö for those of you who are not from Malmö. I come from Lund. I work in Copenhagen, so I'm part of this region, which I will tell you a little bit more shortly. My name is Sarah Leday. I'm a Senior Strategy and Project Manager from Medicon Valley Alliance. And this event, HealthTech at Medicon Valley, is an event organized together. Medicon Valley Alliance, Invest in Skåne, and Copenhagen Capacity. And I have some colleagues here, Niels Christian Ganderup and Christian Monsen from the organizing team, who you will meet shortly as well as they will moderate one of the sessions to come. This HealthTech and Medicon Valley is actually a series of conferences that we have annually from our three organizations, where we really want to showcase what Medicon Valley has to offer in terms of life science and especially health tech. And I know that not everyone is familiar with the term Medicon Valley. We hear maybe Greater Copenhagen, we hear Öresund, but Medicon Valley is quite new. And we know that the people in that room are having a good time, but we're going to have a better time. So I'm going to try to speak loud. But Medicon Valley is a term that was inspired by Silicon Valley. And what we want to say is that we are the leading life science cluster in the Nordics. We comprise of one cluster comprising of two countries, Denmark and Sweden. Three regions, you have Region Hovedstaden and Region Zealand in Denmark and Region Skåne in Sweden. And we have 4 million inhabitants across approximately 21,000 square kilometers. And I did a bit of math yesterday. That's about 6% the size of Germany, where one of our speakers is from. There he is. And half the size of Denmark in terms of land area, and also about 5% the size of Sweden. So it's a very interesting way to put the relative sizes. But it's a small region concentrated with a lot of world-class healthcare and research, hardware and software expertise, a thriving game industry, and a strong startup scene, which really makes us primed to be the hotspot for health tech innovations of tomorrow. And today we have the privilege of hearing of some of these exciting health tech initiatives happening in the region. We have some exciting startups, we have public sector representatives, we also have guests from Germany sharing their perspective, and we also have the big pharma players to talk, and tech players to talk about how they view health tech. So it's a really exciting program lined up for us today. But before we go into the content proper, just some small practical information to ensure that we all get the most out of our time together today. Now, I said that you should have your mobile phone prepared, and this is the time to take it out because we are going digital. If we are in a health tech session, we should lead the way in being tech savvy. So we have a mobile interactive platform. You find the QR code there, which you can scan. If it doesn't work the first time, try again, because sometimes when many people log on at the same time, it can overwhelm the page a little, but you should get into it in a few seconds. On this platform, you can follow the program, you can search among the list of attendees in the room, and very importantly, you can ask questions to our speakers in the QR tab. So make sure that you get the chance, or you take the chance to do so. Feel free to ask questions anytime along the way. This is what you should see when you scan the QR code. Please note as well that this event will be recorded, and we will send a link to the recording out after this event as well, so that you can refer back to some of the great presentations during the course of the morning. Yes, and even most of the presentations will also be made available after the event in the coming few days. Really great to see the mobile phones up. Take the chance as well to tweet, put a post on LinkedIn if you'd like. If you're wondering about a good hashtag, HTMV 2021 is a good place to start. HealthTech Medicon Valley 2021. And you will also receive a post-event survey email. Great if you could take the chance to respond to that. It helps us to know how we can make future health tech events better for you. So as I alluded to, we have a really packed morning, 3 hours together, where we'll spend 3 different themes. We will start the first 40 minutes with getting our tech and pharma friends to really share how they engage with health tech today, why is it important for them, and how do they work with players in the ecosystem. We will then go into 3 really exciting real-life case studies of health tech startups and companies that have succeeded in gaining customers in Medicon Valley. We have Monsenso, MediLevel, and Corti to share their journey, and do take the chance as well to ask them questions that could also help inspire your own journeys if you're a health tech startup. And finally, in the last hour, we will take a step back and look from a national as well as local perspective on how regulatory perspectives, public sector perspectives in approaching health tech as well as innovation and commercialization. We have a speaker from Germany, HIH. We have a speaker from the Behandlingsrådet in Denmark, and we have a speaker from Helsingborg Start. So a really nice spectrum of speakers to provide different perspectives on the topic. And then we will end with lunch and networking that will be just here, 1 floor up. So make sure you stay for that. We have a really short coffee break in between one of the sessions where you get a chance to stretch your legs. So I know I tend to talk really fast, but that's because it's about a topic that I really love. And I don't want to take more time than I should. I want to just go straight into our first session of the day, looking at health tech, innovation, Medicon Valley perspectives from tech and pharma. And it's my great pleasure to invite Willem Gatenbeck, Business Innovation Partner at Roche, who will share how Roche as a pharma company is looking at health tech.
Thank you.
Willem, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for having me, and good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. As Sarah just said, my name is Willem Gatenbeck, and I work as a business innovation partner at Roche. And this morning I will spend a few minutes talking about what Roche Pharma, which I represent, what we mean with innovation and digital health. Oh yes. But just super briefly about Roche as a company. We are global pioneer in pharmaceuticals and diagnostics, which make us kind of unique because we have both pharma and dia under the same roof. Most companies have either one, but not both. And I represent the pharma company, but we of course work closely with our diagnostics colleagues. Our focus areas are mainly within oncology, but also neurology, hematology, and rare diseases, to name a few. But having the combined strength of having both pharma and dia under the same roof really enable us to be a leader in what we call precision medicine. And what we mean with that, please come in and take a seat. With that is the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. Our view of the future of healthcare is really that it will be people-driven or patient-driven. It will be preventive, it will be personalized, it will be digital, and most of all, it will be much more integrated into daily life. Today, when we talk about patient-centric care, we tend to put the patient in the center of the healthcare system. But we see that we need to move away from the healthcare system and really building solutions around the patient where he or she is, whether it's at home, at the office, or wherever they like to get their care. So this is really the future that we see and what we're striving for. But these opportunities derives, of course, from some of the challenges that we're facing today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about what you see up here, because I think a lot of you guys are familiar with these challenges. But we have a growing population. The life expectancy is increasing, which is a good thing, but also putting a huge strain on our healthcare system and society. We have a rapid increase of complex treatments, and here at Roche, we talk nowadays about tumor agnostic treatments, which is fantastic from a science perspective and being able to do more for our patients. But it's much more complex, and so with the increased complexity comes the increased cost, not only for the products or drugs, but also the administrative burden. So how can we manage this? At the same time, we see new stakeholders entering the market. And not only is it IT companies that we've seen for a couple of years, but also companies like ICA, the grocery store. They don't have pharmacists, but they nowadays also have primary care clinics. So I can actually meet a physician while I'm doing my grocery shopping, which is a great example of how care is being pushed out from the hospitals closer to the individual's home. But with all of these challenges, the question still remains the same. How can we get people healthy and stay healthy? Well, digital will not solve everything, but by utilizing health data and technology, we are certain that a lot of these challenges will be tackled through new innovations. It will enable novel treatments such as digital therapeutics. It will enable big data and analytics. Just artificial intelligence is a great example how imaging analytics has already been a great example of how we can actually look at, for example, retina pictures and be much more accurate in our diagnosis than we've been in the past. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We also see great potential within the area of disease management and self-care, that suddenly we will be able to empower the patient, put them in the co-driver's seat to take a more active role in their treatment. The patients today are an unutilized resource. Here you have fantastic potential in really empowering them and also enable physicians to be able to make more precise and quicker decisions. The last point I just want to mention here is the building of the data ecosystem. And this is something I guess that we're all struggling with, that today the healthcare system, and not only in Sweden, which is the main market that I'm working with, it's fragmented. We have bits and pieces of data here and there, and it's stored in different formats. So it's really hard to make anything out of it. It's like, you know, the EHR systems is like a digital filing cabinet. You can put a lot of data in there, but it's really hard to get something out and make it actionable. So how can we really turn all of this data that we have in the system into actionable? Then we will really be opening Pandora's box and see some fantastic, exciting things coming out of it. But all of these topics here lead us back to what I was talking about initially. Precision medicine, the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. Because we at Roche, we see that every patient is unique and should be treated thereafter. And the treatments coming nowadays is much more tailored. We don't look at, you know, coming up with a drug for a big patient group, but rather looking at subgroups or tailor them to each unique individual. As a pharma company, we always looked at biomarkers. This could be cells or proteins in our cells. But we're also expanding our horizon now and looking at digital biomarkers. This will really enable us to have the digital biomarkers and biomarkers to do precision medicine in reality. So what is digital? What is digital biomarkers and why is it important? Well, through using digital biomarkers, we will be able to capture data from patients through using sensors, wearables, and other gadgets, so we can actually monitor them in real time, which is a fantastic leap forward compared to where we are today. It will enable us to speak up. Oh, there we go. It will enable us to support patients much earlier, to really identify his or her specific need earlier, set a diagnosis, and also monitor the progression of a disease in real time, which we haven't done as of yet. And while doing so, we will be able to act much quicker when we see something is out of the ordinary. If you don't respond to a treatment, if you have any symptoms that you shouldn't have, then we can actually manage this. And so combining the traditional biomarkers with digital biomarkers, we believe that this will have a significant positive impact on the overall outcome of our treatments. Just a quick example of what we mean by digital biomarkers and how it will more or less act in practice is these dots up here represent a day in the life of a patient. The gray days are when you have light symptoms. Red days is when you have more severe symptoms. And the blue dots is when you actually meet a physician. And as you can see, it's not very often you meet a physician. Way too seldom. But that's the reality. So how can we make sure that everything that's happening in between the visits is captured? Because when you meet a physician, they tend to ask you, okay, but how have you been feeling lately? And often you recall the last few days, not maybe the last 2 months. So you miss out on a lot of really relevant and important information here. But by using digital biomarkers, we can actually capture everything that's been happening in real time, making sure that the physician gets the full picture and really understands the patient's unique needs. And we can also then move maybe from having this scheduled care that you have today to a more on-demand care when you actually meet a physician when you actually need to. So we see great potential as Roche in combining digital biomarkers with the classic, more traditional biomarkers. But it's not only about digital biomarkers at Roche that we're talking about. We are a pharma company, the one that I represent, and our molecules are the core of our business. So how can we make sure that we really empower or maximize the full potential of our molecules in the market? Then we tend to talk about the around the pill strategy. We have our pills. How can we add value to it? And that's when we see potential in adding a digital technology to it. So how can we, in addition to providing a drug, also do more for our patients to go from just being a supplier of hardware, you could say, to provide a full experience. And I know we're not unique at Roche in doing this. This is an industry as a whole, looking at how can we be more of a care developing partner. But it's really interesting, and there's so much potential in doing this, because then we can support the physicians in a way we haven't been in the past, and also be a partner to the patients, which is really, really important. I'm just going to highlight one quick example that we did actually here in Sweden that I was part of. There is a disease, a neurological disease called SMA for children, and we have a product for it, but the children, in addition to taking their medicine, they also must do physiotherapy. And of course, for a 5 or 6-year-old, doing physiotherapy isn't the most fun thing to do. So what we said is that, okay, how can we make this more fun? So what we actually did in Sweden, we developed a beta version of a game, where these children is supposed to do their exercises through, it's a game quite similar to Angry Birds, you could say. So, you need to lift one arm and then suddenly something happens on the screen because we have developed a solution that you can mirror your movements. And then you remove your other arm and then something falls. So suddenly these children can't stop playing this game and doing their physiotherapy at the same time. So this is really a great example how a gamified experience can help children or patients to manage their condition in a different way and do it much more fun. But to make all of this happen in reality, we as a pharma company, we can't stay the same. We are great at developing drugs. Our medical experience is really profound. We've been around for 125 years. We know the regulatory markets. We know how to bring drugs into the market through, strict data policy laws, the regulatory, and also having great network with the hospitals and other relevant stakeholders. But what we do lack, and where we need partnerships, is really within the area of customer-centric mindset, an entrepreneurial culture, and talking about also rapid innovation. We're great at innovations, but developing a drug takes years. And we also need these quick fixes that we can see tomorrow happening. So combining these two worlds, then we will see some really exciting things happening. And as said, we at Roche, we see that we shouldn't do all of this ourselves. We need to partner with some of you guys, hopefully, and other players as well. And one example of how we work with partnerships is that this is 2019, we signed 78 new partnerships globally. A lot of these span from early phase to digital solutions and precision medicine. So it's the full spectrum, and it's everything from global giants to small national startups. So we really want to work with everyone that we see can really elevate the way we deliver care today, and that's relevant for our patients. And most of all, is our partners helping us in creating tomorrow's solution and enabling precision medicine, which means the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. So if there's anything I would like to ask from you guys today, is that, please collaborate with us, help us in creating these opportunities that we see. And when we talk about the digital and utilizing health data and technology, there are especially 3 areas that we're focusing on at Roche Sweden as of yet, and globally as well. The first one is healthcare data management. As I previously said, the ecosystem it has such potential. We're fantastic at gathering and collecting data, but we're not utilizing it. It's stored here and there. It's an extremely fragmented system. Let's see, how can we put everything together? For example, just genomic data is a key component for precision medicine, but it's stored in a different form, and it's not really, it doesn't interact well with the rest of the clinical data. So that's just one example of how can we merge this into one. Because by just putting everything into one place and make it actionable, then, as I said, we are opening Pandora's box. We will be able to do some fantastic things, not only for our patients, but for society as a whole. The second part is how can we, through digital solutions, enable earlier or better screening and early diagnostics. Everyone knows that, in oncology, for example, early detection is key in a successful outcome. So we really must be much better at capturing warning signs earlier. And here we see potential in actually using the individuals much more. How can they, as a unutilized resource today, do much more, be more alert and interact more with the healthcare sector to capture these early warning signs much earlier? The last part is digital therapeutics and disease management. At Roche, we're not fully there when it comes to digital therapeutics yet. It's a super interesting field, and I think we're going there, but I know there are other companies that are much more advanced in this area than us at the moment. We have some really exciting things in the pipeline, so we'll see in a few years' time. But what's here and now really is a disease management part. How can we really create new solutions for our patients and the healthcare providers? One example is for, say, home care. Our drugs today is administrated, 95% of them are administrated at the hospital. So how can we move some of the treatments from the hospital closer to the patient's home, or preferably into the patient's home? A big advantage, not only for the patient, but the healthcare sector as a whole. So these are some of the areas that we're really focusing on, and I'm hoping that some of you guys in this room today have maybe parts of the solution that you want to collaborate with us in solving these challenges and improving the healthcare sector. So thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to your questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William. We will come back to you with
Yes.
questions after the next presentation.
Looking forward to
But
it.
make sure that you take the chance to ask your questions once again on the QR code, and take up William's offer to collaborate. So my next speaker is going to provide the tech perspective. You heard from pharma, now it's tech. And it's my pleasure to invite Heidi Mills, Nordic Director for Strategy and Business Development Europe at Bosch, to share how they look at health tech. So Heidi, welcome, and take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning. So I'm here to give you a few insights on how we do business in the Nordic region. So let me just start here. So let me just ask you a quick question initially. So just think about, which industry do you think Bosch originated from? And then put your hands up if the first thought that came to mind were your dishwashers or your washing machines. Yes? How many thought of power tools? Yeah. And how many actually thought about automotive? There's a few. Well done, because that's the original. We started, our core DNA is actually based from the spark plug. After that, we moved into sensor technologies, which is actually what helps you park your car today, and also the dashboard technology and the software behind that. So every component that you have in your vehicle, you will now know is part of Bosch. So who is Bosch? So basically, when it comes to the company, we are 395,000 associates worldwide. In the Nordic, we are 2,870, spread across 7 different countries. We're a family-owned and foundation-owned company, and our annual revenue in 2020 was 71.5 billion euros. So we have different sectors, of course, and in the Nordic, we are spread out quite vastly, especially in Sweden. Our HQ is in Bellerup in Denmark, and we do have primarily sales offices, but we also have manufacturing up in the north of Sweden and in Finland. Okay, so Bosch is split up, and the same goes for the region, into 4 different segments, and these are our business sectors. So we have the mobility solutions, which you also mentioned before here, where we also go from the sensors to the dashboard to everything that you can possibly think of to your vehicle, even smart parking. Industrial technology, and here we're looking at hydraulics, we're looking at manufacturing sites, we're looking at Industry 4.0, all these kind of elements going in there. And then we have energy and building technology, where you have your security cameras, you have your fire and evacuation systems. You also have different thermotechnology, which is our heating and cooling systems for the homes or for industrial buildings. And then you have consumer goods, which all of you seem to know really well, so that won't go too much into detail there. Now, one area which many people do not know, in 2015, Bosch started a new unit in Germany called Bosch Healthcare. Now, this unit, within a period of 6 weeks, managed during the beginning of COVID in 2020 to create the world's fastest PCR tester, which you can see, the Vivalytic. It makes actual tests of PCR within a detection time around under 30 minutes. So it's the world's fastest so far. Just a little side note, but it was our blood analysis team that created that. Okay, so going back to the region, there is no doubt that in the Nordic region we have an abundance of expertise when it comes to biotech, when it comes to fintech, when it comes to welfare tech. There's a vast array of opportunities across the whole spectra. Now, we also noted this, and we also noted the support giving and access giving different networks that we met along the way. For example, Copenhagen Capacity, Invest in Skåne, many different networks that actually supported us all the way through when we wanted to create new networks or create new opportunities or co-create with other companies. In addition to that, we've also found that there's a vast array of startup hubs in the region. And these are quality startup hubs that really nurture the startups to develop the technology and then go to market. And this is something that, in our opinion, made us evaluate at the same time as our corporate were transforming the organization to a more ambidextrous organization, where we were going to more into the exploration part of our organization design. We decided internally in the Nordic to create a new unit of business development. And I hear many saying, okay, business development, yes, but don't you have that already? Yes, we did within the different silos that we went through before. But what we were going to do different was actually go across divisionally and then work primarily on what the market in the Nordic could offer us. So what we would find in the market, we would drive inside the company. So that's how we developed this unit. Which was a big shift because we were primarily a sales organization and had to build up this competence of creating new different solutions, services, and new product lines. Currently, we're working in the focus areas you can see below, and this is just at this moment in time for this year. Next year, they may change depending on how the market gives us opportunities. Based on our experience, we found that there are 3 main characteristics that are strong characteristics, but unique to this region. One is the collaborative mindset. Within this, you have the openness to create, the openness to learn, and the openness to grow. And this is something that we found across the spectra, across all 7 countries, which is very important for us. And it's also the perfect region to create pilot testing. So if you want to test a new product, there's no problem if it isn't 100% perfect from the beginning. There's a very big acceptance that as long as you fix the problem, of course, then it's okay. There's no problem. We'll get this done and we'll get it implemented. And that we really appreciate. Second is easy access to decision makers. So there's this really easy way of getting hold of the real key person that you need in order to make a decision happen. And in order to get that product, make it happen, find the parties, join forces, and then get to market. So this is something we found is very good. And on top of this, one crucial point is that we don't just work for the process. We don't just follow the process. We work to actually solve what we want to solve. So in Germany, sometimes it can perhaps be very process-orientated. And here in the Nordics, we experience it's quite the opposite. And we really thrive with that. And have also taught our colleagues in Germany about that. Not very popular all the time, but hey. These factors, in our opinion, have actually drawn this element of a high technology adoption rate. You have that side where you have the collaborative mindset and easy access to decision makers, and then this high-tech adoption rate is very easy then, once you have that flow. But at the same time, in societies, there's a big foundational plan in place to make sure that all demographics adopt technology. So generally, everything's quite digital in the Nordics compared to many other countries. And this is something where without the foundation and without this collaborative mindset and the easy access to people, then it wouldn't happen. That's in our opinion and our experiences. So, moving on from that area, I'm going to give you an example of where we demonstrate that collaborative mindset and the easy decision-making experience we've had. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about one of the projects that we've been working on. And to do this, I'd like to tell you the story about David. Now, David is an 11-year-old boy with ADHD. David goes to a special school for learning disabilities. David has never taken the bus on his own. He has a carer that follows him every single day to and from school. David doesn't know the feeling of independence. If there's a sticker at the timetable at the bus stop, or too many people, or too many loud noises, this will cripple David with fear and make him revolt and go back and retreat totally away from the situation. Now, 5% of children, school children, are like David today. And his story, I'll just pause for now. I'll get back to him in a bit. Children with autism and ADHD have challenges with learning skills due to not being able to maintain focus and also not being able to control the hyperactivity levels. In some cases, there's also the issues of not being able to communicate and also not being able to have social interactions. So this makes it very difficult. And today there are many like David who have a carer that goes on the bus with them every single morning and every single afternoon when they come back from school. On a national level, Danish municipalities spend $190 million on this service. Just going to let that sit a bit. And this is per year. Due to this cost, and also the proactively want or need to invest in new ways of actually ensuring that these youths can actually learn new skills, Rødovre Municipality approached me and asked us to create a virtual reality framework in order to teach children to take the bus on their own. Now, I can see probably there's a lot of people asking, what can an automotive company come with in this context? Well, we've actually been teaching our mechanics for many years within virtual reality and augmented reality. So we had the foundation in that regard. Okay, so pre-COVID, literally 2 weeks before the lockdown, we managed to have a design sprint workshop of 5 days, where we managed to go through the different elements with Rødovre Municipality, University College Copenhagen, and Skovmose School. Here we made our simulation design, and we also introduced our tour guide, Ed the Bunny. Here you can see some of the features from the interaction simulation, where the first step is the difficult one of getting on the bus. Ed the Bunny waits for the child to get to the bus stop, and then physically gets on the bus, and they also give him points for paying for their own ticket. You can also see there's a thought bubble next to Ed's head on the left, or yeah, your left as well, where you can actually see the different landmarks are depicted. These landmarks are then the areas that the child should keep an eye on during the route, and when they see them, they can have the option of shooting at them with a weapon. And this is the gamification tool. So by shooting at them, you gain more points, and then on each level, at the end of the level, you can go to the point shop, and this point shop, you can buy a new weapon, or you can buy a treat for Ed, if you wish to do so. Now, the takeaway points from our perspectives in this are, all in all, when it comes to persons with learning disabilities, there are significant costs related to social inclusion, support, and skill building. Today, the activities take a long time before you see the results. And we would like to go back, or I would like to go back to David's story, sorry, too many names. When you're going back to 11-year-old David. David and 5 of his colleagues and classmates began taking 20 to 25-minute sessions of our bus simulation therapy. After 4 to 5 sessions, David's parents were called in because we were bringing this into the real world. David waved to his parents as he got on the bus, all on his own. His parents went to the end bus stop in order to wait for him. Of course, very, very nervously, because could he complete the journey? Would he panic? Would he be scared? During the journey, David did not only pay for his own ticket, he also noted the 6 landmarks along the journey, and without any external support, he managed to get off the bus at the right stop for the first time in his entire life. And this was very, very emotional for the parents, and also for us standing and watching these things happening. David, he managed to demonstrate a new learned skill set but he also found a new confidence and also freedom in that moment. This was the exact same result for the other 5 students that we tested with, showing an easy and fast transference of VR to real life. Our vision now is to move forward and expand our portfolio of daily life skills, as we call it, within a virtual city framework, allowing persons to become active members of society. Inclusion for all. Thank you. Please let me know if you'd like to co-create or if you have some crazy ideas. I'll be more than willing to listen. And if you want more information, just let me know. Thank you very much. Oh,
Heidi
sorry.
back on stage, as well as Willem and Krista Monson. Krista Monson is from Invest in Skåne. He's one of the co-organizers, and he will moderate this joint Q&A session. I see that there's been some questions from the audience already, Krista, so
I know. Yep.
yeah, take it away. I'll just put it here.
Okay, can you hear me all? Brilliant. I had prepared some questions, but I don't need to pass them on to you because there have been some questions. And we are all, of course, very excited and engaged by your presentation. Really interesting. The first question I would like to pose, or not me, someone in the audience, I think it's to you, Willem.
Okay.
It's about the Roche, and then, of course, Roche and Bosch is quite different. This is your core business, and this is your opportunity business, in a way. For you, I think it's about around the pill strategy, services, things like that. The question is, much earlier diagnosis, what if there is no treatment or delayed access to the treatment? What if there are shortages of medical personnel? Because you go into like a service type of business.
Yes, well, it's a good question, and I think hopefully there is personnel. Of course, there is challenges within the healthcare sector, but I think where we see or where we focus on early diagnostics is where we have actually treatments as well. So we know that, by making sure that we can detect a certain treatment earlier, we will also be able to provide a treatment, so not just detecting the disease. So, of course, it's critical not only to detect the disease, but you must then also be able to act upon it. Otherwise, it's not ideal. But at the same time, we see early diagnostics is also important because it helps us understand a disease much better. And that in turn will also enable us to maybe develop better and more efficient drugs. So it's also a lot about creating an understanding and learning what can we do. And I think also, as I mentioned in my talk, just by knowing that you have a disease, you can actively, as a patient, do more and engage. And we see studies showing that an increased engagement and involvement from patients will have a positive outcome of a treatment as well. So I think it's also a lot about just creating knowledge and awareness.
Thank you. And then I pass next question to you, Heidi. And that is more related to Bosch being a giant with like billions of euro type of revenues. How can you maintain an agility market in the Nordic region when you're such a big player around the globe?
But that's why we created our subunit, so that we could actually handle the opportunities locally. Now it's being spread out to a European level as well, because they found that there were some synergies and some good links that were working very well from the Nordic. So generally, we've got a hub of people that are integrating generalists now across Europe who go in between the different silos, find the key people that we need and put them in a melting pot, and then we create. That's how we work.
And I remember cross-fertilization is a key word. Right?
Yeah.
Then I just pass on to you again, Willem. And then the question is, this is a straight question. Do you work with large research facilities like DC in Hamburg or Max 4 in Lund, especially in the early stage of drug development?
Both yes and no. Globally, we we have a lot of partnerships with research facilities, and some in Sweden as well. But a lot of the research is done in-house. So we have our own research facilities globally. Unfortunately, I personally believe we don't have anything in Sweden by ourselves, but we work a lot with the research institutions in Sweden and elsewhere, and to some extent also their research facilities. But for example, the Max here in Lund, we don't have any collaboration with as of yet. But with that said, things might change. We're always looking for new opportunities, and I think that's what's so exciting with pharma as well, that we have a drug, we have a product, and it has a certain lifespan, and we always have new molecules in the pipeline. We always try to come up with new innovations, better solutions. So we always look for new partnerships. How can we do more? So I think we have a lot of research facilities that we partner with, but we most likely will work with new ones in the years to come as our pipeline is evolving.
Heidi? And this is also like, I just read it out. Hopefully you can interpret it better than me. How can you ensure accuracy while shortening the time with the new PCR?
That's a good question, and I think I'd have to give you a contact person for Bosch Healthcare on that one. But it's because we had the Vivalytic originally was a blood analysis device, meaning that when you went to your local GP, you could go in and you can get a blood test within an hour. So converting that over to the tests for COVID, that was those guys that actually had the expertise in that developed it further. So, but I could definitely put whoever asked that question into contact with that person if they're interested.
Okay. I think we have a few minutes left. Willem, 78 global partnership in 2019.
Yes.
Impressive. Is starting collaborations with existing solutions a growing focus of Roche, or do you also build your own new type of solutions?
It's not a new focus. We always partner with other companies. Sometimes we have acquired a lot of these stakeholders that we initially partnered with, but we've always worked with partnerships not only within digital health but in actually pharma development. But when we talk about the around pill strategy, we see there is an extra big need for new type of partnerships, collaborate with stakeholders that we haven't done with in the past. So this is, I'd say, something that has been increasingly important and part of the newer strategy for Roche to partner, to find new types of partnerships when we talk about really around the pill strategy, because the pill is still in the middle. That's the core. Our molecules are core of our business. But how can we find partnerships that not only enable us to do better drugs, but also these add-on services to really provide this full total experience? So this is something that is evolving, and we will see much more of this also in the future. Of course, we want to develop some of this ourselves. When we see potential that we can do it, we try to do it. But at the same time, I don't see that one company should address all of these challenges. It's through collaboration and partnerships that we will actually see some big results, because we need to move mountains, and you don't do that by yourself.
And I think I can, one more question, and I think I like this one because especially, well, it's not me to judge the quality of your questions, but anyway, it's related to you, Heidi. It was, how has anyone signed up to buy the virtual reality solution once market ready, and it's related to your selling through the municipalities, schools, things like that?
Yes.
How had the market entrance?
We have one school currently using the device on a regular basis. And at the moment, we're going to scale. And we have the Nordics in mind. We have several municipalities lined up. And also in Italy, and also in the UK and in Germany. So watch that space.
Brilliant. And I think I will throw one more question anyway. That's on you, Willem, because your core business is medicine, pills.
Yeah.
So are everyone in the management teams and the board of directors in Roche as excited about preventive illnesses and things like that, and working on this?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of our board of directors and the senior management, but without a doubt, Roche is committed to work with more predictive and proactive care. We see great potential in doing things much earlier. One challenge is the infrastructure. The ecosystem today might be fully ready to work more proactively. So here we need to see how can we actually change the ecosystem? How can we get a decent reimbursement model for making sure that people don't get sick? So there must be some incentive in this area as well. So we see great potential in this area. And I think in other markets where we have a more privately funded healthcare system, in the US, for example, where we have a lot of healthcare insurances, then this preventive care and proactive actions, it's even more interesting than here in Sweden. But I think overall, this is a super interesting and relevant area for Roche that we are really committed in exploring and doing more within.
Okay, and with that, I thank you both. It's really interesting to listen to you, and I think we share that experience here, and we wish you, both of you, together with all your new partners, the best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, as well for moderating. And I think one of the key messages is that Roche and Bosch, it's really nice that they rhyme. They're both open for collaboration. So make sure you reach out to Heidi and Willem on LinkedIn and connect with them. With that,